Hello, I'm Anna Maria Tremonti, and you are listening to The Current. 17 years ago today, Marc Lépine walked into l'École Polytechnique in Montreal and systematically murdered 14 women with a semi-automatic rifle. Feminists, he called them. For many, the memories of that event and the horror it provoked are as raw as ever. And that's what makes the work of Montreal playwright Adam Kelly so provocative. He has written a one-man play about the life and death of Marc Lépine, the man who perpetrated the massacre. CBC's Fiona Downey has prepared a documentary about the play and the reaction to it, and she joins me from Montreal. Hello, Fiona.
Good morning, Anna Maria.
Why did Adam Kelly write this play?
Well, it actually started off as a school assignment. 5 years ago, Adam Kelly was a grad student at York University, and he was told to create a single character play with a subject matter he had a personal connection to, and so he wrote this play called The Anorak.
Why the Anorak?
Well, Marc Lépine was wearing an anorak on the day of the shooting. It's a kind of rain jacket with a hood, but anorak's also a colloquial and somewhat derogatory term for a boring, studious, or socially inept person with unfashionable and solitary interests, a term the playwright feels could apply to Marc Lépine.
You said the assignment required some personal connection. What is Adam's connection to Marc Lépine?
Nothing direct, but Adam Kelly grew up in the same suburb Marc Lépine had lived in as a teenager. He was also raised by a single mother as well, and Adam was always intrigued that there were really more differences than similarities between him and Lépine, but he couldn't shake the sense that this could have been just a guy he'd gone to school with.
So tell us a bit about the play.
Well, it runs through Marc Lépine's life. So we hear about his relationship to his mother, how he felt growing up, his increasing anger at feminists along the way. Most of this sticks to known facts, things on the public record, and only occasionally does he dip into conjecture. It's just Adam on stage, a monologue, but a very compelling one. And it takes us up to the night of December 6th and through the ghastly shootings. And in the documentary, you'll hear some of this, and I'll just tell our listeners now that some may find it very difficult to listen to.
You also talked to Adam Kelly in preparing this.
I did, and I have to tell you, I approached the play and its author with a fair bit of trepidation. But this was last spring, and I'd heard he was performing the Anorak at an all-girls high school in Montreal.
So this would be an audience of girls too young to know about the Polytechnique Massacre firsthand. What was the response?
Tough to say concisely, but disturbed, intrigued. Certainly these young women left with much more to think about and a certain appreciation for the knowledge of the event, if not the sadness they felt about learning more about it. But I wondered what someone who knew all too well about the killings might think of a play performed in the voice of Marc Lépine. So I contacted family members of the 14 women who were killed. Now, not many returned my phone calls or emails for whatever reason. Then Sylvie Haviernik called me. Now, her younger sister, Maude, was one of the 14 women Marc Lépine killed that night. We met, we talked about the play and a whole lot of other things, and Sylvie said she didn't feel she could go and see a performance, but she would actually be interested in hearing the play. So I recorded a performance, and Sylvie then came into our studios to listen. It wasn't easy for her, and she certainly didn't want to listen to it alone or in her home, but she did listen, and then I interviewed her for the documentary, and we're going to hear a little of the play. We'll hear as well from Adam Kelly, the playwright, and we'll hear what Sylvie Haviernik thinks of it. And as I said before, I'm sure the memory of the event is still raw for many of our listeners, so this documentary may not be suitable for all listeners, and there is some swearing as well.
Okay, well, Fiona Downey, let's listen to your documentary.
If it were my daughter who was killed and someone was doing an artistic presentation about it, I could see myself going either way, to be honest. I like to think that the person would think, okay, someone is doing something, so the event is not going to be forgotten. I could see it going that way. I could also see it going, this person should not be presenting the life of someone who did this. This person was a monster and should be forgotten.
Truly, spending a couple of hours with the ghost of Marc Lépine is not really attractive. It's not my kind of man. And I really have the feeling that I have a blind date with someone that I'm not expecting any good. So I don't know what this will do to myself.
Will we remember their names? Geneviève Bergeron, Nathalie Croteau, Hélène Colgan, Barbara Daigneault, Maude Aviernik, Barbara Kluznik-Vedachevich, Maryse Leclerc, Anne-Marie Lemay, Maryse Lagagnère, Sonia Pelletier, Annie Saint-Arnaud, Michel Richard, Annie Turcotte, Anne-Marie Edward. Will we remember his name? My father was of the Muslim faith. He said that if you commit suicide, you are granted neither your life nor your death. Here I am, a phantom, living out the actions of my life over and over again, just as my actions will be repeated in life over and over again. You know me, I think. I killed 14 feminists at the École Polytechnique of the University of Montreal on Wednesday, December 6, 1989. So you all want to know why I am doing this. Okay, I'm going to explain all of this to you. But I don't want there For the to be any first time, I put on a show that was entirely about Marc Lépine, which was scary for me because I knew that it was risky to put on a show portraying someone who really was this hateful character of history, and I figured eventually I'll just go out and play the character and see what happens.
You women, you especially want to know why I'm doing this. But that's not enough for you. You want to see me crucified. You want to forget my name, erase it from history. Remember only what I did on this day when all of those poor feminists was betrayed. You do not want
I do take the audience in this show and I split them between men and women. And obviously the first time that I wanted to do this, I was scared to do it, but I decided, okay, well, that's a good reason to do it. Then to take the Marc Lépine character and have to confront the side of the audience that had the women's side, that was very scary to me because anywhere that women heard about what happened here at the Polytechnique, there was a very strong reaction to that. And so to bring this character in front of the women, I felt, holy smokes, this is dangerous to do. But I wanted to do it and see what would happen.
You don't want me to present myself to you as a sympathetic character or as a human being. Well, if you don't want to listen to this, I am not keeping you here. I don't have my Storm Luger. I cannot shoot you, even if I want to. So if you want to leave, now is your chance. I'm waiting. I'm going to begin.
Why I accept to be part of this experience is I suspect that the guy was a good author and he did that right. He did that right. He did a good job. The true feeling, the right behavior, and it's very, very interesting.
When we were growing up, we was moving around a lot. My father was an entrepreneur from Algeria. My mother, she was a fucking nurse who wanted to be a nun early in her life. Now, I'm not here to tell you about that our life was difficult. Yes, it was. My father was violent with us. But I'm not here to present myself as an object of melancholy pity so that you will pity me. I do not want you to, and I know you're not going to anyway.
Some family member, they really, really want to make sure that the name of the killer will not be pronounced, will not be promoted, will not be used. But for myself, I try to not attach too much importance to that guy. And it was easy because I always spend my time to think about my sister Maude.
Even though I have dropped my chemistry courses because they have nothing to do with what I want to study, I was making my application anyway to the Polytechnique. I thought that the best engineering school in Canada would be able to recognize that an erudite merits special attention, even if he does not conform to the system. Hey guys, of course you have to conform to the system. I was rejected by the Polytechnique because of those courses I did not take. And when that happened, I dropped all of my courses at Cégep.
If I have to discuss with the author, I will maybe just ask him why you decide to do that. What is your motivation? What is your source of inspiration?
That's the main question. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to know? But it's also linked to, why did he do this? Why did he do this?
And one time there was this girl who come in and she had the long blonde hair. And Adia Maducta Virgo, she was good looking. And she see me smash the dishes, pan, pan, and she say, "Hey, you're crazy, you." And me, I say, "Yes, I am. I am crazy for you." And she was smiling and laugh a bit. And she say her name to me, and I say, "My name is Marc le Fou, Marc the Crazy."
A lot of people try to tell us that it was a crazy man. And on the bottom of my heart, I always know that, no, he was not crazy. That guy was just an ordinary guy. And there's a lot of people like that.
A big part of me doing this show is my own questioning of why he did it. I don't understand why he did it. At the end of the day, I keep coming back to that. I just don't know. I like to think. I come up with reasons that have to do with expression, introversion, coming from a broken home, being rejected from certain institutions in society, connections to military, influences of violence as a youth, all of these things.
And me, I did not know what to do. But in the summertime, I was visiting my uncle who was living on a farm in Vermont. And he was a retired Special Forces U.S. paratrooper in Korea and Vietnam. And he was talking to me about his missions, talking to me about military strategy and showing me his guns. And me, I find this very interesting, and I get the idea that I'm going to join the Canadian Special Forces, me too. And so
everybody goes through aspects of these in their life. They go through rejections, they go through difficulties with family. They don't go and do what he did. And I've performed this show before, and I've had people say, I'm just not making the jump with you from all of this life and then making the jump to going into the school and killing women. I'm just not making the leap. There's something missing there. And I agree. There is something missing there. I don't know what it is.
And I was passing my preliminary tests, which were a lot of logic tests, spatial relationship, IQ tests, and I do very well in all of these because I'm very logic-minded. But then I was in front of a panel who was asking me all kinds of questions about my life, growing up, my situation with my father, and I don't know what that have to do with my being recruited into the Canadian Forces, so I was not answering their questions. And then I wait a while, and then I get my response in the mail, and it was interviewed, assessed, and determined to be unsuitable.
How the people will react to that plea, the men and the women, they should hear that. Because they will probably understand that this thing could happen to anyone. Nobody is protected. No good guy could be sure that this will never happen to him one day. No, I'm sure about that.
On Wednesday, December 6, 1989, I walk into the Polytechnique of Université de Montréal. I am carrying a garbage bag. Inside are 2 boxes of 223 Remington cartridges, 2 30-clip magazines, a Storm Luger Mini 14 semi-automatic assault rifle. There's a hunting knife attached to my belt. I am wearing black boots, blue jeans, a black shirt, a dark Anorak jacket, and a blue Montreal Tractor casquette.
When I do the show and I go for an hour and 20 minutes talking about his life and then finishes with the act, which takes 3 minutes of time on stage. It really doesn't take very much time at all. It, of course, has a very strong effect on the audience. You know when you come in to see the show that this is about a harrowing event, but you don't know how harrowing until it's explained to you, and I do explain it in fairly accurate but difficult detail, difficult to hear. difficult to listen to.
I take the escalator up to room C230. I enter. I pull out my Stormluger. Everybody stop, I say. No one is listening. They think it must be a prank for the end of the semester. I shoot into the ceiling. Everybody up! I want the men on the left, the women on the right. They are not moving. Let's go! Move your asses! Now they are moving. Of the class of approximately 60, there are 9 women. I order the men to leave the class. They do.
Of course, Marc Lépine split men from women when he went into the Polytechnique in the first classroom he went into, and that's the single act, other than, of course, the killing of the women, but that's the act that people remember as being particularly heinous, and probably because the men who left the classroom were often blamed for that, and a lot of men and women have come out and said, well, I would have done something under those circumstances. Nobody should be in this situation. You should not be in a situation where someone is holding a gun to you and is telling you what to do. I don't know if it's very brave to say, oh, I would have done something if I were there, but you really don't know until it's happening.
I approach the women. I'm standing between them and the door. Do you know why I am here? One woman says, no. I say, I am here to fight feminism. She says, we are not feminists. We are just engineering students who want to live normal lives. You are all a gang of feminists. I hate feminists. I shoot every one of them. Cis. I reload my weapon and proceed into the hall.
There's something that I will never forget. It's something that you understand when you saw that. It's, how this girl died. They were alone, they were in pain, and they were in fear. So nobody can extract that from your mind. So this part, it's difficult. It's very difficult. So you don't want to see anyone dying like that.
I walk into room B311. There's a man and women giving a presentation. I shoot the women. Everybody jump under the desks. I jump on top of the desks. As I reach the back of the classroom, there is a woman there. I shoot her in the head. 11. 2 women are crawling for one of the doors. I shoot both of them repeatedly. 12. 13. The only sound in the room is the first woman I shot who was giving the presentation. She is moaning. She is trying to breathe. I jump down off the desks, put down the Stormluger, take out my hunting knife, and stab her 3 times in the chest. 14. I stop.
I don't have that big answer of why did he do it. I don't know why he did it. I also don't have the answer of why it keeps happening. Again, I don't have the answer to these questions, but I do have the questions, and I'm trying to get to... For me, that's what's important about doing this show, is that I'm asking these questions of myself, and I'm asking because I don't have the answers.
Our names mark our graves. They will not remember their names. They will remember my name. I take off my casquette. I take off my Anorak. I pick up the Stormluger and wrap the Anorak around the end of the rifle and point the barrel at my head.
Stating the names of the girls at the beginning, for me it's important. And I believe that the authors understood that very well. It's a mark of respect. It's really important. And finishing the play with, they will remember my name, and he is not state his name. It's also a mark of respect. There's a strong message on that. They don't need to remember his name. They just need to remember what he did. And it's sufficient. Because if people remember what he did and never forget the name of the girls, they will turn on the right direction.
We have been listening to a documentary prepared by Fiona Downey in Montreal about the December 6th massacre at l'École Polytechnique. Fiona is in our Montreal studio. Fiona, I have to say, my reaction as I listened, involuntarily in revulsion at some of the things he was saying and how he described things.
It's chilling. It's horrific. And, I've heard it several times, and the impact doesn't really lessen.
It couldn't have been easy for anyone who was at all close to the women killed on the night of December 6th. I can't imagine how Sylvie Haviernik actually could sit through this.
It wasn't at all easy. It wasn't at all comfortable for her. She didn't say much as she listened, but I was watching her closely, watching her, reading her body language in some ways. And Sylvie's breathing was labored at many points. Her eyelids fluttered, her cheeks reddened, her arms crossed protectively around her chest for some segments. But Sylvie felt it was important to know how her beloved younger sister Maude was being remembered. And she was relieved, hugely relieved, in fact, to find the treatment of the subject was so respectful, so restrained, in her opinion, not in any way a celebration of the killer or an excuse for his violent acts.
Now, people like Sylvie Haviernik and the other people related to the 14 women who were killed have been at the heart of remembrance ceremonies. Are they still going to be this year?
Well, 17 years later, some of the girls' parents have died. Other family members, parents or siblings are really trying to pull back from the public spotlight at this point. They've made a very concrete gesture by handing over responsibility for the administration of a fund that was set up in the women's honour. The Fondation du 6 Décembre was created by Suzanne Laplante Edward, the mother of Anne-Marie Edward, and it raises money to back gun control measures and funds programs that help counter violence against women. Sylvie Haviernik was president of the fund for many years, but she says she and the other victims' family members involved felt that the time had come to let someone else step in and continue their work.
Now, she listened to the play. Will she actually go and see it?
Not likely, although she actually says at this point she is thinking about it and she'll make up her mind at the last minute. Sylvie had to go out of town, out of the country, in fact, for the first time ever since her sister Maude was killed. She says a business trip came up around December 6th and it just seemed to make sense for her to go. So in some ways she feels she's reached another stage in her efforts to move on and recover from the grief of losing her sister.
Well, it's a very important day to remember those women. Fiona Downey, thank you.
Thank you.